2022. I know. Yay! Yay! What's shaking? My name's Cam. Welcome back to another video. Today I am coming to you from a place that I am willingly at. A place that I'm at by my choice. By horror. What is it? Horror fiction dates as far back as... No, I'm just kidding. Today I have a pretty easy job. I just want to tell you about all of the spooky books coming out this year. The spooky books that I personally am pretty excited about. And you have a pretty easy job as well. Just listen, man. Just sit there and listen. It's literally all you have to do. Just sit down, listen, and then drive to the abandoned farm on Dreary Way. I'm in the basement. The books I'm talking about today, I'll be talking about in the order of when they're going to be released. And it's not too much of a wait for the first one. On the 8th of February, we will get Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. Now, I'm not much of a, science fiction reader, outer space kind of stuff. Even outside of the horror genre. I know that's a pretty controversial thing to say as someone who claims to be a fantasy fan, but yeah, science fiction rarely scratches my itch. However, this one did catch my eye. I'll read you the blurb. Titanic meets The Shining in S.A. Barnes' Dead Silence, a science fiction horror novel in which a woman and her crew board a decades-lost luxury cruiser and find the wreckage of a nightmare that hasn't yet ended. Claire Kovalik is days away from being unemployed, made obsolete, when her beacon repair crew picks up a strange distress signal. With nothing to lose and no desire to return to Earth, Claire and her team decide to investigate. What they find at the other end of the signal is a shop, the Aurora, a famous luxury space liner that vanished on its maiden tour of the solar system more than 20 years ago. A salvage claim like this could set Claire and her crew up for life, but a quick trip through the Aurora reveals something isn't right. Whispers in the dark, flickers of movement, words scrawled in blood. Claire must fight to hold on to her sanity and find out what really happened on the Aurora before she and her crew meet the same ghastly fate. Personally, I hope that the big mystery of this story isn't just that it's a scary man-eating alien, because it's just kind of boring at this point. I know that's a trope that a lot of people really enjoy, but that's mostly why I don't really enjoy sci-fi, or in particular horror sci-fi. It's just almost always a novelization of the movie Alien. But it does sound like Dead Silence will go in a bit of a different direction, and the kind of Titanic angle is weirdly pretty exciting to me. I would love to see more of a psychological or even a supernatural take on the horror in space. Dead Silence is also a really fantastic horror movie, by the way, one of the first I ever saw that truly put the brown in my trousers. On the exact same day, February 8th, we also get Echo by Thomas Old Huvelt. Travel journalist and mountaineer Nick Grievers awakes from a coma to find that his climbing buddy, Augustin, is missing and presumed dead. Nick's own injuries are as extensive as they are horrifying, his face wrapped in bandages and unable to speak. Nick claims amnesia, but he remembers everything. He remembers how he and Augustin were mysteriously drawn to the Mordet, a remote and scarcely documented peak in the Swiss Alps. He remembers how the slopes of Mordet were eerily quiet, and how when they entered its valley they got the ominous sense that they were not alone. He remembers something was waiting for them. But it isn't just the memory of the accident that haunts Nick. Something has awakened inside of him, something that endangers the lives of everyone around him. It's one thing to lose your life, it's another to lose your soul. You know me, I love my descent into madness horrors, so I just had to add this one to my list. We fast forward a bit to March 15th, by which point I'm sure we'll have had at least a few depressing celebrity deaths. So Meatloaf is gone. That's genuinely upsetting. On the plus side though, we will get A Black and Endless Sky by Matthew Lyons. Road trips can be hell. Siblings Jonah and Nell Talbot used to be inseparable, but ever since Jonah suddenly blew town 12 years ago, they couldn't be more distant. Now in the wake of Jonah's divorce, they embark on a cross-country road trip back to their hometown of Albuquerque, hoping to mend their broken relationship along the way. But when a strange accident befalls Nell at an abandoned industrial site somewhere in the Nevada desert, she begins experiencing ghastly visions and exhibiting terrifying otherworldly symptoms. As their journey through the desolate American Southwest reveals the grotesque change happening within his sister, one thing becomes clear to Jonah. It's not only Nell in there anymore. Pursued by a mysterious stranger who knows far more about Nell's worsening condition than they let on, The siblings race to find a way to help Nell and escape the desert before they are met with a violent, bloody end. But there are far worse things lurking in the desert ahead, some of them just beneath the skin. This story has a lot of tropes that I actually really love in horror, namely road trips, a mysterious stalker, and most importantly, characters that are at a real low point. In this case, it's a brother and sister who don't have a very good relationship anymore. I love when that is the beginning and kind of the catalyst to a horror story. I love the emotion and the drama that can be injected into a story when the characters are at rock bottom. Next up, we have an anthology. Fun. That sounded really sarcastic, sorry. Fun. Okay, that still sounded kinda suck. Look, I'm being sincere, it sounds fun. Dark Stars comes out on March 22nd. Within these pages you'll find tales of dead men walking, an insidious secret summer fling, an island harboring unspeakable power, and a dark hallway that beckons. You'll encounter terrible monsters, both human and supernatural, and be forever changed. The stories in Dark Stars run the gamut from traditional to modern, from dark fantasy to neo-noir, from explorations of beloved horror tropes to the unknown, possibly unknowable, threats. It's all in here because it's all out there, now, in horror. I love shorter horror stories, more than full-length horror novels in most cases, and with authors like Stephen Graham Jones being involved, how can you go wrong? I think horror is best experienced in one sitting, so that's why short stories and novelettes, like in this case, work so well for me. I just find that it kind of pulls away from the suspense and the tension a bit when you have to put down the book and come back to it later. Creeping is actually a comic book and one that I'm very excited for. I genuinely believe that horror comics and manga are actually where you'll find some of the most chilling and creepy and disturbing stories. I've talked about a really disturbing horror comic series before called Crossed on this channel, and I have others that I would love to talk about on here as well. In the meantime though, we have Creeping, expected for March 25th. Creeping is a dangerous online trend that dares participants to spend the night at a frightening location, from crumbling cemeteries to derelict morgues. As more people join in, the competition increases. Who can outdo the latest scary destination? One group of thrill seekers determined to find the most terrifying place in the world. An abandoned medieval fortress turned insane asylum fills the bill, but they soon realize they're in for more than they bargained for. It sounds pretty corny, sure. If it was a movie, it would probably fall into the category of being like a popcorn flick, but hot take, those movies and those stories, they have enormous entertainment value. Not every horror has to make you scratch your head and ponder life's biggest mysteries and philosophical conundrums like you're a frat bro smoking his first joint. No, hold on dude, but what if we're the aliens, man? Have you ever thought about, just think about it. By the way bro, have you heard of NFTs? Simple, fun horror can be great if it doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's what I'm hoping for with Creeping. Junji Ito is one of the biggest names when it comes to horror, and rightfully so. I'm sure you don't even need me to tell you this, Junji is pretty big on booktube and horrortube. What the fuck is that? But putting that aside, Junji's horror manga has delivered some of the most creative and creepy stories ever. Full stop. I, like many others, am extremely excited for his next collection, titled The Liminal Zone. We don't have a release date yet, but at the moment it is expected for July, so it's not too far off. Who even knows what we're in for? The beauty of Junji Ito horror is that you're going to get something that will more than likely be pretty wild and shocking and creative. It's hard to know what to expect, but at the very least we know it's going to be something shocking enough to make you want to lock yourself in a bunker for the next 30 years. On August 16th, we should see the release of Anybody Home by Michael Seidlinger. This one sounds interesting, to say the least. What came first, the home or the desire to invade? A seasoned invader with multiple home invasions under their belt recounts the dark victories while offering tutelage to a new generation of ambitious home invaders eager to make their mark on the annals of criminal history. From initial canvassing to home entry, the reader is complicit in every strangling and shattered window. The fear is inescapable. Examining the sanctuary of the home and one of the horror genre's most frightening tropes, Anybody Home points the camera lens at the quiet suburbs and its unsuspecting abodes, any of which are potential stages for an invader ambitious enough to make it the scene of the next big crime sensation. Who knows? Their performance just might make it to the silver screen. The thing that interests me the most about this one is that it's pitched as being the Strangers meets Funny Games, which are two exceptional horror movies for very different reasons. Based on that explanation, what I'm expecting from this book is a series of stories about this killer doing very violent home invasions, but I'm also expecting a very tongue-in-cheek meta approach to how the stories are told. One of my all-time favorite authors, including other genres as well, is Joe Hill, which is unfortunate for me because unlike his dad, Joe Hill puts out books about as often as Clark Duke does movies. Yeah. Remember this guy? He used to be in stuff. With that said, Joe Hill has said in the past that he is working on a new horror novel called Up the Chimney Down. So I believe he was going to actually have it come out back in 2019, but they ended up pushing it back a bit because of the release of Full Throttle, which was a series of short stories he did with his dad, Stephen King. Then some pesky little virus that you probably don't even remember because it blew over so quickly ruined a certain early 2020 release. And as of right now, Joe is apparently working on something completely different. So we don't know what Up the Chimney Down is about, when it's coming. We don't know anything, and it sucks. Socrates. Well, there you go. There's all of the horror books so far that I'm excited for this year. Let me know what you're waiting on because I would love to hear it. Thanks so much for watching, especially for watching through the whole video. I really do appreciate you. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you want to see more videos about fantasy and horror books. See you in the next one. Catch ya. Can I go now?